Good. Thank you.
Honorable Colonel, thank you for being here. I'm really glad to see you here. Our Congress member has been working to try and get a meeting with you, with those of us who are leaders of the coalition called Protect Ballona Wetlands and Wildlife. And we would very much like to do that at some point with our Congress member Lou. And I'm sure Congress member Waters, who actually has half of the wetlands area, would love to have someone there too. The reason is we've heard that there were actually some big concerns in the Corps which held this project up for some time, and we'd like to know in more detail from some of your engineers what some of those concerns are and how they were resolved, etc. But you know, I keep seeing this new phrase that those who want to do this project are saying, bring back Ballona. And you know what? Ballona's back. Ballona is here. Reminds me of Make America Great Again. America's here. I mean, Ballona is here. And if you would look at Jonathan Coffin's Flickr page and look at all of the amazing photos of wildlife that he has taken over the last 10 years out there, you could in no way say or conclude that only 8% of the wetlands are even semi-functioning. That's what they're saying. It's just not true. And that's because there's a kind of a miscommunication or misunderstanding of what the Ballona Wetlands Ecological Reserve is. It's a mosaic of different habitats. And ecological reserves are not necessarily all wetlands, and they're not all the same kinds of wetlands. There are wet meadows, there are seasonal ponds, there are freshwater wetlands. There are all kinds of different habitats out there. There are even non-native grasslands, which the California Department of Fish and Wildlife considers to be one of the most important and imperiled habitats in California. Not because of the non-native grass, but because of the native animals that use that habitat. And this is no different. That's why the great blue heron rookery is at risk if this project goes forward. Because the young herons that come out of the nests are actually in trees at Mariners Village, a residential area that's just filled with amazing big trees with herons, where the babies come out of the nest, and because those young herons don't know how to fish yet, it takes them a couple of years to learn refraction. And so they're going to survive. They have to eat the small mammals. And there are lots of small mammals out in Area A. Just walk around and you'll start falling into some of their holes. So it's really important that we look at the whole system. And I'd like to draw attention to a comic that was in the Argument last week. It was really interesting. It had a bunch of doctors around a bed, and in the bed was the patient, the Ballona Wetlands, looking like a bird. And it said, you know, the doctors were all arguing over what to do for the patient. The problem is that no one has said what is wrong with the patient. I haven't heard that from anybody. Everybody's suggesting, well, we have to put more salt water in, and we have to take out the levees, but why? I sat through many, many, many technical scientific meetings when people were discussing this, and most of your agencies were not there, by the way. They were put together by private interests called the Bay Foundation, and at those meetings, they never said, what species are we managing for? Are we going to manage for any of the 9 endangered species that have been using these wetlands in the last 5 to 6 years? 9 endangered species? Or the dozens of species on the special concern list? Those are not covered well in your draft DIR at all. And so that would be the first question. Is what do we want to do for the least Bell's vireo? That because of the great recovery plan that U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has been doing down at Camp Pendleton, and those least Bell's vireos are starting to come north and expand their range, they started nesting here without any bulldozing. So what do we need to do to keep them coming here? That's the question we should be asking. And we're not focused on the wildlife, but we are focused on the wildlife. The people in our coalition are very focused on the wildlife. And Huey Johnson, who was a former resources secretary under Jerry Brown the first time, he asked me to give you his concern to let you know that he is strongly opposed to this and hopes that you will withdraw this project and reconsider the wildlife.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.